Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. The ancient civilization in Indian subcontinent differed from those of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece in that its culture and traditions have been preserved without a breakdown to the present day. Comment. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. When it comes to continuation of the culture and traditions, the Indian civilization is far ahead of the civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece. Subcontinent. This is attributed to unique characteristics of the ancient civilization of the Indian. The main body of the answer should be Number 1. The Indian culture has had an inherent sustainability and enduring character. Unlike other civilizations, Indian civilization has refined itself from time to time to suit the contemporary times. That is why, despite of multiple upheavals and political and religious intermix with other civilizations, it has carried its basic characteristics to the modern times. Number 2. Beliefs of the Indus Valley civilization like worshipping the mother goddess and Pashupti still exists in India. On its journey to modernization, Indian civilization carried with it the tenets of ancient Vedic culture, Buddhism and Jainism, the institution of slavery which became one of the major reasons for the downfall of ancient civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece was characteristically absent in India. Number 3. Throughout history, it is found that whenever Indian culture got threatened or over-influenced by an alien culture, it systematically reformed itself, eliminating the redundant and outdated practices and beliefs. For example, the socio-religious reform movement of 19th century gave a new character and more robustness to Indian civilization. Number 4. Similarly, in medieval times, the Bhakti and Sufi movement led the cultural revivalism and strengthened the foundation of Indian culture with ancient faith and modern outlook. In ancient times, the 6th century gave rise to new religions like Buddhism and Jainism and enriched the Indian civilization that continues to the present day. Number 5. Another important factor behind continuation of ancient Indian civilization is that while other civilizations were being replaced by conflicting faiths and beliefs, Indian civilization encompassed all the culture within it. That is the reason India became home to many dominant faiths like Sikhism, Zoroastrian, Islam, etc. The conclusion of the answer is therefore, the uniqueness of the Indian culture to adapt to changing times with a tolerant approach to new faiths has helped it to continue without breakdown to the present day. Question number 2. Professor Amartya Sen has advocated important reforms in the realms of primary education and primary health care. What are your suggestions to improve their status and performance? Let's start with the introduction of the answer. According to Amartya Sen, the major issues India is facing today is the neglect of primary education and health care. Inequality in India has been particularly vicious in terms of lack of health care and education for a lot of people. If one compares India and China, inequality of income is not dissimilar, but China scores enormously over India in giving access to all to health care and school education. Moving on to the main body of the answer. Times, according to Professor Amartya Sen, primary education and healthcare situation in India is in pathetic condition, and he advocated to be reformed in this field. Times, India needs to broaden its base in the spheres of education, healthcare and women's equality to foster economic growth. Times, he has made a strong case for a radical reform in primary school curriculum which would reduce the curriculum overload in primary education in the country, making home tasks redundant and private tuition unnecessary. Times, the government must prioritize expenditure on education and healthcare instead of ill-directed subsidies and tax exemptions. Suggestions for improvement in primary education and healthcare. Number 1. Increasing the government expenditure on primary education and healthcare to at least 5% of GDP. While the government spends only 1% of GDP on health, education spending in India has been lower than the world average. Number 2. There is a need for proper utilization of funds by plugging the loopholes arising from procedural and institutional bottlenecks. Number 3. Taking inspiration from the Yashpal Committee report, which seeks to make learning more meaningful and enjoyable by relating formal education to the living world of the children. Number 4. The mantra of availability, affordability, and assurance must be followed for improving status and performance of healthcare in India. Number 5. Expanding the reach of health services to rural and remote areas is hindered by the limited availability of providers there. Therefore, there is a need to improve the quality of public health centers in those areas. The conclusion of the answer is: India is the only country in the world which is aiming to become a global economic power with an uneducated and unhealthy labor force. Effective implementation of existing policies for skill development, fundamental education reforms, public-private partnership, and international collaborations can help the nation to become a global superpower. Question number 3. Craze for gold in Indians have led to a surge in import of gold in recent years and put pressure on balance of payments and external value of rupee. In view of this, examine the merits of gold monetization scheme. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Indians have an insatiable appetite for gold. Historically, the yellow metal has underpinned the financial security of individuals and families. So, every bit of surplus savings from the family budget goes to buy gold. Added to this is the Indian woman's fascination for gold jewelry. The main body of the answer is: Number 1. India's domestic production of gold is very limited. The rising demand has to be sourced from outside the country. Moreover, gold as a commodity on its own does not add much to the productive capacity of the economy. Number 2. When one buys gold, it either is stored in lockers or gets converted into jewelry. In both the cases, money spent on purchasing gold gets blocked since gold is not a productive asset. There are certain qualities of gold that make it a desirable investment option. Number 3. Despite being an impoverished country with low per capita income, India tops the world in buying gold. With surging imports, the trade deficit and, therefore, the current account deficit are rising disturbingly. Number 4. A high current account deficit impacts the value of currency, which in turn makes imports expensive and adds to the fiscal deficit. During hard times, it is imprudent to divert the country's forex to buy gold. Gold India is the world's single largest gold bullion consumer. Number 5. India owns more than 18,000 tons of above-ground gold stocks worth about $800 billion. But India's fetish for gold threatens to take the shine off its fast-paced economic growth. Number 6. Many economists worry that financial markets are losing out on funds that have instead been spent on gold. Introduction of gold monetization scheme in Budget 2015 is welcome step taken by government. India is largest consumer of gold. Number 7. Gold monetization scheme will help to convert physical gold into cash. This will boost spending and investments. At the same time, it will also reduce imports of gold. Number 8. Gold is unproductive asset today. This step will make this asset productive. Advantage of gold monetization scheme. Number 1. This scheme will reduce dependence on imported gold. As import will reduce, it will enhance forex reserve and will help to control dollar price variation. With reduction in dollar price, inflation can be reduced. Number 2. Being manufacturing hub of the world due to rigidities in labor market, archaic labor laws and glaring skill deficit. Number 3. It is important to ensure that basic rights of the workers are protected and labor standards are implemented across industries and formal as well as informal sectors. Number 4. Labor laws need to be simplified and brought in line with contemporary economic realities, including especially current international practice. Number 5. The labor enforcement machinery needs to be further strengthened in the interest of better enforcement of labor laws. Number 6. It is important to eliminate absurdities, dualities and ambiguities from existing labor laws so that industry is in a better position to leverage full potential of labor market. Number 7. India's labor laws numbering around 250 both at central and state level are restrictive in nature and hurt investments in the manufacturing sector. The conclusion of the answer is rigid labor laws discourage firms from introducing new technology that would require some workers to be retrenched. Foreign investors are put off, worried they would be unable to dismiss unproductive workers or downsize during a downturn.